Hey, hello, friends. Hi, I'm Chris, ELLIOTT WAVE Cafe. Let's start right off the bat by taking a look at Bitcoin, and then we'll, a couple of interesting developments today, and I also, have some, kind of a couple of interesting setups I wanted to show you. But Bitcoin has started to come back a little bit today. I know, this seems, a bit exciting, but we're still far off. But this is what I was talking about. This is kind of the type of stuff that we need to see to kind of start to think, that we do have some kind of a signal on the other side, and it's very premature. But what I think happened, I think we might have gotten a truncated fifth wave. I mentioned it here several times, and with today's move, this kind of starts to be a little bit more cemented. The fact that we dropped into these levels, we didn't really make a new low because we already did make such a powerful move. So, you kind of have an A, B, C, D, any triangle here in a small fourth wave, and then, you push lower in this kind of final fifth, almost you revisit the lows and then you start to bounce. So if I go on a 1 hour chart, in here you can see I didn't put the labels, and maybe I'll work on this a little bit later, but basically you have in here what it looks to be a wave 1 2, and then you have another 1 2 in here. So what that does is creates a larger explosion. So you have 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then you have another fourth wave forming in here with another 5, another 4, and another 5. So if you're looking at the sequence that has formed from the lows, that would be the way to develop it. 1 2, and then now you're counting the larger one, which is 1 2. So this is 3 3 4 and 5. That's the move that we're looking for. Inside this long move, you have basically you have this little one here, 1 2 3 4 and 5, and that's inside that leg. And then inside this one, it's a 1 2 3. So this is the fourth wave in here forming to complete this structure. Okay, so we got to form this 4 and this 4, and then push higher into this guy, and then eventually get a setback, and then go again. So this is kind of what I'm thinking right at this very moment, that's kind of how this could maybe unfold. We also gotten, and I'm going to look at that in a second. We've also gotten quite a bit of volume behind this move, behind this latest lag. So it's a bit promising. Let's see how it goes, but this is how it looks on the daily time frames, right? We went back up on the 20-day. Look at the volume in here. That's pretty high. Anything that we've had, gosh, I mean, I got to go back all the way to this lag, the end of that kind of larger third wave where we got a little bit of volume, but this is the first one that's actually a little bit bigger than everything we've seen so far. So let's take it for what it is. We'll see what happens in here, but again, I'm not the one to kind of trade a correction upwards. I would love to see a 5-wave move, a completed 5-wave move, let's say from here, and then get a setback and then trade maybe a C wave up. I think that would be the way to kind of go if you want to play something that's by that time kind of the move matures, because it could very simple, what if this is, I don't even know, like some kind of a flat and you go back down. I don't think so, but I'm just kind of thinking about that stuff, right? When I'm trying to say, well, what if I'm wrong? So if we do something like this and then we do an ABC somewhat back to the fourth wave lows, then I guess that's what I would start to want to get involved, maybe buy a little bit, then get back above this level and see if you can squeeze and move back up there. So there's still time in here, and I just wanted to kind of talk about the setup in kind of how I'm seeing in Bitcoin based on the move that we've kind of got him from these lows in here. So definitely interesting. Let me see how this looks when I look at the yeah, I guess it's kind of the same when I look at the line chart. Just see kind of how this formed in Bitcoin. Okay, now I wanted to talk quickly about I know also Ethereum had a pretty good move, but I didn't look at that, but it's I mean, it's basically mirror what Bitcoin does, right? Kind of the same thing that we've gotten a big reaction of the lows, and I guess this came, after something like Circle, and maybe I don't know, maybe there were some other companies that got earnings, but Circle had a pretty big move in here. I mean, look at the volume, obviously on earnings, and it moved basically from whatever $60 or 62 to $83. So pretty large move here of about what 35%. We've kind of had today up in Circle. So pretty large move there, and maybe that's kind of what created a little bit of a bounce in cryptos overall. Okay, the S&P 500, if I can get it to load, it moved higher. Yesterday we closed to the top, right below that 50-day moving average. Today we went above the 50-day moving average. We closed above it, not on very impressive volume, I must say. So I'm not trusting this move a lot. And what I think is usually happening after you have basically a tight consolidation, the market will initially break into the opposite direction and then do the real move. So I'm very curious if this is going to be something that's going to start to move to the upside, or if this is actually the fake out that got everybody bullish today and kind of excited into thinking, okay, we're going to get ready to move to new all-time highs, and then we actually fail, and then we start having a deeper sell-off. And if I go over and I take a look at the SPY, basically the wave count that I have. I mean, this is just the small idea with the thing that I talked yesterday in an A, B down in C, but maybe it's a 1-2. I don't know. We passed the 61.8, we passed the 78.6 just by a touch, but obviously the cutoff for anything like this would be up above these levels. Once you move back above these levels, all bets are off, and then we got to think about something else. But if I take a look at the where is my charts in here? If I take a look at the S&P kind of here longer term, I'm going to go here to a daily. You'll see kind of what I'm after, right? I'm thinking that that's a fifth wave. Maybe go to a weekly so you can see the larger wave count, right? It's a 1-2, and then that's that 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave that's starting to fall apart, beginning the new sequence. So we're looking at either a W or a wave A from the top, B and C, and then see if we can start to correct. First of all, up into these levels right there, right towards 65.25, and then maybe a little bit deeper. I don't even know how much of a correction there would be from the current levels. I guess I could probably measure. It would be a 6% correction. That's not even that crazy. You could even do, if you come all the way to revisit the bottom of this move right there, that's about a 10 to 12% correction. So not even a large, correction, something that would be kind of standard if we were to kind of somewhat, let's say, find our ways into some kind of a corrective move all the way to the top of this wave and then begin the next bull market higher. So I'm looking basically for the initial signs of of this corrective move, and it kind of started below this 50-day. Now we're kind of getting back above it, but the 20-day it's coming closer. If you look at the Nasdaq, that's still, look, it's being rejected from that 50-day. And look, Nvidia just had earnings, and if you think this was going to save the bulls in any way, or give us, or give anyone for that matter, a look, for a reason to kind of stay bullish to the upside, I'm taking a look at Nvidia in the after hours, and this is what I'm seeing right here. That was the move on earnings, and then I guess maybe the earnings called, what have you, and the move completely reversed, and now we're trading almost below yesterday's low. So this is definitely extremely interesting, because if this is a failed move in Nvidia, expect the market, it's already trading weak in the after hours. The Nasdaq and the S&P, you can see right in there the quotes. We could have a very nasty day tomorrow if this holds. I could wake up tomorrow morning and this thing could be back up higher, and it's just kind of shaking up some weaker hands in the after hour, whatever. and maybe there's buying coming in into this average, and into this level right here, right? That's 194, and we can wake up tomorrow and this could be midway up and can continue to kind of grind higher tomorrow, and then eventually the S&P can, and the Nasdaq can move up higher. But I don't know, to me this looks very corrective in the in the Nasdaq. I didn't spend a lot of time trying to label that in here in trading view. I mean, I guess if I go to like a daily time frame, we could do a little exercise. Again, if this, we consider this an impulse off the lows, then this would be a clean ABC, and you would have a wave A, B, and then C. Although it doesn't really look like a C, it looks more like a WXY because of this mess right here. So we can even play that game if you would like. WXY right here. You can go in a WXY, and this would be, let's say, wave A off the highs. Let's just play that game, A, B, and then down in C. Don't worry about the internals. If I'm not correct on the subdivisions, that's not the point. So A, B, and then this would be a next move lower, and then we'll see. But remember, at the longer view in here, I'm used with the motive wave, so I wanted to zoom out, so I press minus. But basically, this whole thing here could still be a big old corrective, like a W, X, Y, X, Z, and you can have basically just a large sideways correction, either a triangle or some kind of a complex structure that still moves in here until it's done, and then eventually does one more move, and then we go. So I'm open to that, but I know that if we break, and the more we spend below this 50-day and we start to kind of get back towards the 200, things start to be more dangerous. So this is kind of my overall take into kind of the price action right now regarding Bitcoin and equities. And I also wanted to show you a couple of things before I finish off for the day. I had a couple of stocks that I put into Discord today. So one of them is FTNT. This is interesting. Let me go to a weekly. So it's got a very kind of cool looking formation here. It could be a 1-2-1-2 or ABC, some kind of a next wave and another ABC. I still think it's in a pretty decent corrective structure. So this is just to kind of look at the the way kind of the corrections unfold. So I would expect that the next move would be lower. And since this looks maybe way too easy, then I guess maybe you would need some kind of a pullback first before it would break lower. Because if we look at it under kind of my moving averages in here and kind of the price section, you can see you're below you're below the 200-day, you're below the 50-day. So it trades kind of with a weak tone. Now I don't think it's a very volatile stock, but it's definitely an interesting setup. Then you have TTEK, which is another kind of very beautiful pattern up in here, maybe a WXY, whatever. But this one also looks like you would have, I don't know, a pretty good reason to move to the downside in here. After it does a pretty nice impulse off the highs, then it has a correction right there into like a 61.8, between 61.8 and 78.6. And this would mean that this is a wave 1, maybe a wave 2, and then it starts to roll over 3, 4, and 5. So this is stuff that you can kind of keep an eye on, put alerts, and just kind of see what's going on. TDC, it's another one that looks very interesting. I mean, look at this massive head and shoulder in here, and this is a weekly time frame. This would be a monthly. Let me go back to the weeklies in here. But again, you can see, look how beautiful this is. Just a pure head and shoulder, with the big, huge neckline right there, right? And, all it needs is just to break out. Will it break out? We'll see. Will it not? I don't know. But this is a beautiful corrective pattern, exactly into a fib zone. It's getting the impulse. I mean, it could spend some time doing this, right, for a wave 2, just to kind of match this side, and then, but something to keep an eye. That's why I keep them on a list here, and just I'm going to try to kind of look at them. Kava, I spoke about this one, I guess maybe, I don't know, yesterday, but again, had a big move today, like 26% was up on earnings. So I think it wants to go here towards 102. I don't know if the labeling is fully correct, but I know we retraced into 78.6 after the IPO move higher, and now was the stock was pretty well demolished, and we're starting to kind of come back above the moving averages as well. Right now, above the 50, above the 200. So that looks. Let me see. I guess I have it here. Yep, right there. So you can see it. Right. I don't have the 200-day moving here, but we are below. We're above it as well. So pretty strong movement. Look at the huge volume that it came today, and I think that's what's nice about this, because you can have confidence in some type of a third wave developing in here, and more buying ahead. So that's kind of where we are. So I wanted to show you, a few interesting things. Hopefully, you find some value in this. Please, you remember that, and visit me, Discord, Substack, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want. I'm available. If any questions or want to share charts, you can find me at these places. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.